Hey everyone, John Stevens with PCS Homes here at eXp Realty, and today we're going to go over the most recent numbers, the housing statistics for our local market here in the Watertown-Ft Drum area. Now the most recent numbers we have are from last month. They're from the month of May, and they're compared to a year prior in the month of May. So we're going to go through those numbers, but not just tell you what the numbers are, but what do they mean to you? What do they actually mean if you're a buyer or if you're a seller? So we're going to get right into it. We're going to start with the number of new listings. Now that was at 217 listings for last month. That was down 6.9% from the year prior. The other thing that we saw is the pending sales, which are a gauge of future sales. They're what's under contract and will close in the near future. They were only we only had 66 of those, and that was down 62%. That is a huge drop in that month, and I think we're going to see some more of those numbers as well. Now the actual closed sales for last month were 137, and that was down 8.1%. So we saw future sales down, we saw the actual sales down. Something that's a little bit contrary is the number of days on market dropped to its lowest that I've seen at only 42 days. That was down 35%, meaning that from the year prior in May, it took home sale actually sold, 35% faster. But I do believe that that is kind of a lagging indicator. We're going to start to see those numbers reverse course and go back higher. So in general, so far we've seen fewer sales and fewer sales that are coming. The median price, however, very strong. It was up. It was $194,000 in the month of May, and that was plus 11%. So we saw a nice pop as far as prices go, and that goes to show that we still have a tight inventory, although it is starting to grow. But that means that's good for pricing for homeowners. Now, affordability, and this is what we kind of touched base on in the last video as far as the interest rates rising. That's making it more difficult for new buyers to afford homes, and that dropped the index. It dropped the index by 30%, almost 31%. That's a big drop in a short period of time. The actual inventory is also growing, so now buyers have more choices. The inventory stood last month at 126, and that was up 21%, so we had a nice pop in that. And then finally, another number that goes along with the inventory measure, it's just a kind of another way to measure that, is the month supply. How many months of supply do we have so that at the current rate of sales, it would deplete that actual inventory? And it's at 3.2. But we were much lower, even down to 1.9 months of inventory, so less than 2 months. So that actually grew by 45%. So what we're seeing overall then is fewer homes selling, prices remaining high, and the inventory start to grow. So what does that mean to you as a buyer? Well, if you're a buyer, that means that you have more choices today than you did 3 months ago, 6 months ago, or a year ago. So that means maybe you don't have to be rushed quite as much. It probably means that you won't be competing with 5 or 6 or 7 other people for that same house. That will give you a little bit more leeway, or maybe you don't have to offer quite as high a price. Now you may still have to offer full price, but now maybe you don't have to go $10,000, $20,000 over just to get the listing, or get that contract accepted like we were having to do a year ago. As far as a seller, so that means if you're a seller, we may have to recalibrate our thinking. Then maybe that we're going to get a good price for our house, but maybe we're not going to get that plus 10 or 15%, and we have to be maybe a little more realistic, realize that the bidding wars are probably over. There may be a few here and there, but that means we're likely to be closer to our listing price, and also it may take a little longer to sell your home. It may take a few weeks versus just a few days, but that's, it's still in line with the seller's market. It's just a little bit slower. So I hope you found this information helpful. I will be sure to keep you folks up to date on what's going on in this changing market. And one last tip, a little pro tip for you buyers out there. If you're in the market to buy right now, make sure that you're staying in touch with your lender, because right now we've got a lot of volatility going on in interest rates. And you want to make sure that the letter you have, that you're qualified within that price range that you were a few months ago. So make sure that you're on top of that. And I would stay in touch with your lender at least every couple of days just to make sure you're good to go. So we'll talk to you soon. Take care.